Okay, there you
Good afternoon, guys. Hope you've had a good day. Somebody was on here and then clicked out real quick. Let's see if I can see who's with us. We'll start our webinar. Today's webinar is going to be a bit shorter than the one was the other day, and I'm always a believer in that. I will do my best to give you good information that you want and that you need, but I'll also tend to let you out as early as I can, because when I run out of stuff to say, you don't want to hear me probably anyway. But we shared a lot of things the other day about duties and responsibilities, and today the legal rights and responsibilities, and actually hot topics in education, is kind of what I'm going through. At any time, if you would like to, if you have questions, as I said the other day, you can write them in the chat line, and I'll be glad to answer them. The first thing we're going to talk about is your contract. If I can get on here and get going. Your contract. You're under contract. You're under contract with your employer, and that goes both ways. It's KRS 161-730 requires a contract between the Board of Education and the employee. Each teacher must hold a valid certificate in accordance with KRS 161-20. Now, not just anybody can teach just anything, and I know you know this, and I hate to talk to you like you don't know any of these things, but when you applied for a job, you had a certain certificate that you wanted a job in the area that you were certified in, and that's what you had to have. And there are legal grounds for everyone who teaches to have those certificates in the areas that they're supposed to be, and schools are supposed to employ those if at all possible. Services are required to be performed in line with KRS, state board, and lawful rules and regulations. Kentucky is governed by this school laws book that I'm looking at. I'm looking at a Kentucky school law book, and we get one each year, and they're really thick and really hard to read and hard to find things in, but they govern our schools. And there's a section in there on certified, a section on classified, and just all kinds of answers to a lot of questions. Not many people in the district will have one of those. Your board attorney will have one. There'll be a couple in the central office. Most people use the KSBA, Kentucky School Board Association, policies. You sign up for those and you pay for those as a school board, and they will align your policies up with the Kentucky Revised Statutes. Then if you look up a policy, you can do it with software. And as you look those up, you can say if it was a policy on whatever it could be, attendance policy, you would look that up and it would say the board policy, and it would tell what statute it ties in with. So the districts is not just setting policy, they're setting policy according to the laws that's set forth by the legislature and by the Kentucky Board of Education. Your Kentucky Board of Education is appointed by your governor. Your state Board of Education is appointed by your governor. But yet they're the people who hire the commissioner. As you know, we just have a brand new commissioner hired in the state of Kentucky. As Dr. Holiday retired, we've hired Dr. Goad, and he's brand new from Georgia, and the state board interviewed for that and then did the recommendation to hire him. So he was hired by them. Now, he is the chief operating officer in the state of Kentucky for education. All of these things fall beneath him. And then the state board does a lot of things, and then your local board does a lot of things. And then there's things like the standards board and the OEA, Office of Educational Accountability. There are different things that you probably won't deal with, or never, many of you will never deal with. And OEA is like they just keep everyone accountable. And if someone complains to them, they will do an investigation pretty quick on the complaint. And sometimes they're substantiated, and sometimes they're not. The Office of the Standards Board are the people who set the guidelines for what you have to have in order to teach. You have to have a certificate and so, and they deal with both the high schools, middle schools, elementary schools, boards of education, state board, and the colleges. They help set guidelines with colleges for their certifications. So all that's wrapped up together, and it really sets a lot of laws and policies for what you guys do every day. Okay, your duties usually begin the first day of school, required by the school calendar adopted by the district and approved by the state. Each district gets to adopt their own calendar, but they have to put so many hours in per year, and you can go up to so many days. And I think you have to get like, I can't remember, it's 165 or 170 days, whatever it is. So you can't have any less than that. And the days have to be so long, but really and truly, it ends up being a total number of school hours that each kid has to sit at the desk and learn. It can't be the hours of, you can get a few hours of going to and from class and things like that, but it can't be hours of no instruction. That doesn't count. It's got to be instructional hours. And then the state has to adopt the calendar for you. They approve the calendar that the board adopts. The teacher will be paid in accordance with the salary schedule adopted by the district and approved by the state. The salary schedule, again, is approved by the Board of Education, and it's done fairly and consistently, and you are to be paid by that schedule. And it's pretty easy to figure up what you make if you know the number of checks you get and multiply that by, if whatever you make by that number. Some of you get 24 checks, some may get 12. And just multiply with the number, and that gives your total amount, and that should line up with your salary schedule pretty much. Now you, of course, take the gross amount because of the fringes. Salary should be paid by the end of each month or a plan adopted by the district and approved by the state. The next slide, the teacher should be entitled to sick leave or other fringe benefits according to the state law, the lawful rules and regulations of the State Board of Education. Your sick leave, guys, is so important. And I want to tell you, it means a great deal. Now, it may not mean as much to you on the front end of your profession, but on the back end of your profession, as you start to retire, your sick leave will mean so much. If you've read anything about the KTRS and how they're talking about redoing some things with that in order to get it to where it's they don't have to add as much money to it and where it could be self-sustaining, one of the things they talked about, or just some people have brought up, is not letting sick leave be counted towards your last check. So you can count in most districts, well, I think in all districts, you can count 30% of your accrued sick pay, and that adds on to your last check. And then when that's divided, it really makes a difference in the retirement that you get per month when you are retired. Of course, I'm retired once from Warren County Schools, and I work part-time here at Greg. And I had over 300 sick days as I retired. So I was able to use part of that was paid to me by my average daily or by my daily wage, and I received a check for that, and that added up to my last year of pay. And then when they divided that, because I was over 55 by 3, that helped my retirement somewhat. And it's a nice benefit to have. So save the sick days that you can; they will pay off for you in the long run. And don't use them just to use them. Plus, guys, you know as well as I do, the as good a substitute teacher as you can find, they're not going to be better than the teacher in the classroom. So we need you there if you can possibly be there. The next bullet, the teacher shall be entitled to sick leave. Oh, I'm sorry, I've already said that one. The teacher is to keep such records and reports and furnish the same to the district superintendent at regular periods designated by the superintendent, the state law, the lawful rules and regulations of the state board, and the district. That comes right out of the law book. KRS 16380, 170, and 790 gives the district power to transfer, suspend, and dismiss a teacher for given reason. Now, you can't be just dismissed to dismiss you. There has to be justifiable cause in that. And you can't be suspended just to be suspended. And there are different types of suspension. There's a suspension with pay. There's a suspension without pay. There's termination. There is letter. You can get a letter put in your file. You can get just a lot of things for discipline. But none of you will ever get that because you're going to be wonderful teachers and never do anything wrong. But those are things that are that boards of education, superintendents use in the times that they do have to discipline an employee. The next one is contracts remain enforced subject to all within unless termination takes place in compliance with KRS 170, 780, and 790. Your contract is good until it is gone. And once, if you were to be terminated, of course, your contract would be gone. The next few slides I'm going to give you are on the professional growth and effectiveness system, and I know you know what those are, and I know that it seems like that's this is, of course, a way that Kentucky's adopted. And as I go around the country and different things that I do, and I act like I'm going everywhere, but I've been a few places and talked to people from different states. And I've complained really about the time that it takes for our PGES system with our principals and our teachers and superintendents, and talk to them about what they're doing in theirs. Most everyone is using the same types of things that we're using. Is what I've found. The Danielson is a framework, and the Danielson work is actually is what we kind of based our professional growth and effectiveness system on somewhat. Is what I understand, and just about everybody is using that same one. And I'll have about the same things to say about as far as the time that it takes. It does take a lot of time, and you're being K-tipped, and you're your first year teacher, and you've got a lot going on, and it is stressful and overwhelming. But you can do this, guys. But PGES the vision is it to have every student taught by an effective teacher, every school led by an effective leader, and the goal is to create a fair and equitable system to measure teacher and leader effectiveness and act as a catalyst for professional growth. It's to have everyone that's in the school, wherever they are, to be effective and to grow. We all want to stretch every student that we have. That's so important. And I don't care what you teach, you stretch their learning. I don't care where they are, stretch them. The thing of PGES is that we can be stretched as well. And here at GREC, even I have to do a PGP, and we have collaborative partners, and we're trying to follow the PGES system evaluation here. So we do that as well to try to mimic the systems that the schools are using. The next slide says typical timeline for a non-tenured teacher with PGES, and some of these details could vary from district to district, but this is typical. May to August, you have a self-reflection to be completed, which we do that at GREC as well. In August, you have the PGES orientation no later than the end of the first 30 calendar days. Teachers validate their class list. September, their self-reflection is done. September, and self-reflection is so it really means something to you. Your goals mean something to you. September through October, collaborate with primary evaluator after completion of the mini observation to develop growth plan and action steps. Again, we do those things at GREC as well. The November through January, your implementation and reflection of progress and impact of the plan of professional practice. PGP is modified after a second mini observation. And sorry about that O right there. It's supposed to say OB. The January, March, continued implementation. February, March, PGP reviewed summative reflection on the goal attainment and implications. Be discussed with the primary evaluator, and then it's got March and April. Primary evaluator will assign a rating, record summative ratings on SITs. April, primary evaluator recommends reemployment or termination to the superintendent. Now, understand in March when you get that rating, these new ratings won't be like they were at one time. Just about everybody at one time, got the superior or distinguished rating. But the way these are set up, it's going to be really hard to be the top one in all those areas. Hopefully you can get some tops in some areas, but if you don't get the top one, it's something to work for, but it's going to be extremely hard to get those. And it's set up like that. We're not perfect people. We can always improve, and it's set up to show that we can, I think. There is a local appeals panel. Everyone has one of those. KRS 156 says that the local Board of Education will establish an evaluation appeals panel for certified personnel, excuse me, which consists of 2 members elected by the certified employees of the district, 1 appointed by the Board of Education who's a certified employee, and these employees who feel they were not fairly evaluated may submit an appeal to this panel for a timely review of their evaluation. And you guys can check your local PGES book for procedures, timelines, and these timelines are of the utmost importance in this process. Any timeline, guys, for anything that's in your policy book is so important that I just can't stress that enough. You have to follow the process. You have to follow the timelines. Your everyday responsibilities that I wrote down and thought about. Read your district handbook for your students. Your student handbook will tell you more things than you can ever imagine. I've got one in front of me that I borrowed from a district, and as I go down there and look at, it's got practically everything in it, from absences and excuses, what's allowed, administrative regulations, athletics and support and sports activities, attendance requirements. This one has bicycle use, bullying and hazing, care of personal property, conduct on the bus. It goes on down through to detention, how you can be dismissed from school, driver's license, how they can take those away from you, the due process hearings, what that means, the emergency closings, how that'll take place, expulsions, everything almost that you will need to know. You can look at this and all the way down through student behavior, what's expected with grades. I think the grading policy was in here. Grading, the homework policy, which let me look that one up, says that, and I think it's spelled out in this particular one I looked at earlier, of what you can have in those certain areas and what you can use. And it breaks it down to what the assignments for students, the purpose of assignments, and how those are. And the grading scale. Their grading scale at this particular district is 90 to 100 is an A, 80 to 89 is a B, 70 to 79 is a C. And those are things that you need to know. And I don't know, and they may be in another book that you have, but one of the easiest ones you can find so many things out is this district student handbook. And I advise you, I know you have those in your building, and I advise you to look at that. When I was at Warren County Superintendent, we had to print those in several languages. I print them in 4 extra languages. So that, and it cost about $25,000 per printing for those languages. But in order that our parents could read those district handbooks and their students could. And of course, they have 40 or so languages now in the district, but they don't print them, of course, 40 different ones. The next thing that I have is the read your PGS plan, of course. That's something you're responsible for, something you need to keep up with. Next one is keep up with your sick days. Know who in the central office is responsible for what. Some of your central offices are larger than others. It's according to how large the district is, usually is how many people work in the central office. And you can really make friends with those people. Be nice to them, treat them with respect. You will get a long way with your central office people when you do that. When they ask for something, turn it in. Try not to be late with those things, and you'll get much favor with them, and that's what you want as you need things. Next one, never be late or miss your supervision. This gets everybody in trouble, guys. The easiest way to be sued in this whole process, of course, you don't touch kids in a bad way, but don't miss your supervision. Be on duty, be watching, be looking. As you have playground days, you take your kids to the playground if you're elementary. Don't be standing around with a group of teachers. Be observant. Look around. Be like you would expect a teacher to be if they had your child in class. That's always the bottom line. I've always tried to treat kids like that they were my own, and that's just the bottom line of the whole thing. Don't be late for supervision. We talked about dress last time. I'm sorry, that's on down. No important dates. Keep a calendar. Keep a calendar. If you've never kept a calendar, it's time to keep a calendar. And, keep your personal calendar with it, because sometimes your personal and your professional get mixed up. I'm always talking to my wife about, she keeps 2 calendars, and she keeps a personal and a professional. And I can't do that. I have to keep all mine together because they get kind of entwined, and it's easier for me. And I keep mine really on my phone and in the cloud. Of course, it's with my computer and my iPad. Even someone as old as I, and Claywell, don't you laugh, but someone as old as I am can do those things. So I know you do these anyway. But know your assessment dates. Keep those in your calendar. Know your assessment dates for your class and for your school and for your district. And the bookkeeping is a must. Know what's expected of you. If you're in a system and you happen to have a class where that you sell things at certain times of the year, and they tell you not to have money in your desk at night, you have to turn that in for Red Book to get receipts on and get receipts on everything. Know your bookkeeping and do that. That's a must. You must keep up with those things. The next one is ESS. Know about ESS. How do you refer people to ESS, or do you? How's this done? This is something that helps you all, guys, if you need it, and it's something that you should pay attention to. Field trip things, your medication. You can't anymore just go on a field trip if you have somebody who takes medication at a certain time, because not just anyone can administer medication. You go on an overnight field trip and you take I was an ag teacher. If I took my FFA now and I had kids who had to be administered medicine, I would probably have to take a nurse now sometimes with some kids in order to administer the medicine that they need or do the things that need to be done. And I know the district I was in will provide that, and we have people on standby for those things. But medicine is a big deal. Medication is. If you have kids and you're taking them off campus. The other thing is the permission. How does that work? I told you last time I wouldn't transport kids in my own vehicle. I tell people not to do that. We don't transport kids in many of the cars for the board. Some districts do different things, but I just advise you not to do that. If you are transporting a child in your car for a school purpose and you were to have a wreck, I'm not sure that the school would be liable as you would, and that would come off your insurance and you. So just be careful with that. And I've seen many friends who end up suing each other over a car wreck where they were together, and maybe it was their insurance, but it was still people do strange things when that happens. So just be careful with that. The grading system, know that, and I'm sure you already know that because we're a quarter of the way into the school year, and I'm sure you already know what that is. PBIS, if you have it. Know all about those and how that you're supposed to react to that, how you can implement those and do the things that you're supposed to do both in the cafeteria, the hallways, the outside, inside, gymnasium, wherever you are. Your PTSO, if you have a PTO, PTSO, be kind of involved in that. Do the things you're supposed to do. The more your parents see you involved, the better you will be as a teacher. I promise you that. The more you attend things. Your council dates. Everyone has an SPDM council. And the makeup of those councils. Normally you have 3 teachers and 2 parents and a principal on that council. And they meet once a month, some meet twice a month. But they set policy for the school. They don't run the school on a day-to-day basis. That's your principal is in charge of the school on day-to-day. But the council sets policy for the school. And if that's just something you need to know about. And in time, be a part of these. Be involved with your council. And get on the council if you can. Your supervision schedules, both indoor, outdoor, restroom, whatever, know those, have copies of those. Do not miss that. I think I've stressed that. Do not miss that. Most of the lawsuits I've been involved in was someone missing supervision, something happening. Substitute information. Who do I call? You already know that. You've probably already been there enough, and you know how that takes place. But who do I call? What do I leave for a substitute? Make sure you leave what you're supposed to. Don't leave that up to someone else. Your acceptable use policy. What can I put on a laptop if I have a laptop that belongs to the school or a computer that belongs to the school? Most of the time you can't put your personal things on it. You can't put software on it. You can't that you buy. You can't use it for gaming, and you can't use it for other things. Your technical questions, your tech things, those are things that you need to know before you just do it. We've had viruses put on things. We've had things that broke copyright laws before because teachers or school personnel added those to their computer, and we are accountable for that. Once it gets on that board computer, the board's accountable. So you don't put things on there that you're not supposed to. That can get you in trouble. Excuse me. Pardon me just 1 second. Allergies are killing me. The board request. Know how to do a board request and know when to do a board request. Don't jump out there and do something now without talking to your resource person or your resource teacher or a person that you've made friends with that you work with and make yourself look bad. Know how to do a board request and when it's proper to do one. You never want to surprise your immediate supervisor. I would never go to someone over my immediate supervisor unless it was something I felt like they were doing to me that was morally wrong or breaking the law or whatever. But you don't want to surprise them on something as small as a board request. Make sure you follow the proper channels when you do these things, and I promise you it will come out better than it would otherwise. The next thing I have is sick leave and other is substitute things, expectations. I think I already mentioned that. The assessment calendar, the duty calendar, the attendance procedures and grade procedures. We mentioned that already. Board policies, jury duty. Can a teacher be on jury duty? Sure they can. But there are some policies that you have to do. There's a board policy, I guarantee you, and your Board of Education has it in their book or in their that you do jury duty. But if you get paid $12 a day for jury duty, you have to give that probably to your board, and you still get paid for that day of work, more than likely. Some boards may be different, and you may not, but some are like that. And you can never double dip on the same day. You cannot be paid for jury and be paid for the school, just like you cannot be paid for working at school and work another job. You can't be paid 2 days for 1 day, and that just won't work. There's a harassment policy. We'll talk about that a bit later. I told you a little about sick leave accumulation. Can't stress that enough, guys. As you're starting out, I know there's 2 things I would get into if I could. And I'm sure you'll think, I don't know how I can do this, because I remember doing it and I didn't know how I did it either. But deferred comp, you have the opportunity to get in deferred comp if you work for a school system, more than likely. And what money, if you can put anything in it and just be consistent putting in it over time, it will pay itself off. And you will end up, as you retire, with a lot of money in deferred comp. I never put what I should have put in it. I did put some in it, but it really accumulated quicker than you think. But I would put deferred comp in anything I could if you possibly can. And the next thing is sick leave accumulation. Save as many sick days as you can. And do those things. Dress, we talked about that at length last time. Remember I said to overdress, not underdress. And the line some people that listen to this told me was if it's covered up or the piercings aren't in during the interview, don't wear them to school. Because we interview what we want and we hire what we want during the interview. And I'll say that again. Transporting students, know your school policy on that and how to do that correctly. Texting students, I told you I would never text a student. And again, if you do text students, text them as a whole group. If you're a coach, I know there's at least one soccer coach on this group. If I text students, I would text them all. And if one student asks a question, then I'm sure other people are wanting to know, excuse me, that same question. Reply to all and put, I did have this question and I want to answer that in case other people had it. That way there's no question of what you sent that student and it can't be taken wrong. The evaluation system with PGES and the other part that you'll be dealing with, such as the KTIP, know those as well as you can. I know you'll have a person from your college will be there. My wife's actually a KTIP person, so I know a little about this and from what I've known in the past. But I know that the person from the university will be there. You have a resource person, and of course your principal, you'll be part of that committee. Those people may also serve with your PGES as well, except for the resource person from the school or from the college. And I'm sure that's the way a lot of them are set up now. But know how to do those. Don't miss those. Be early for those meetings and be prepared. You want to be prepared for those guys. And I hear about people who are not. Make sure and do your best on those, because that's what people are deciding on your employment for next year. And you want to just do your best. Extracurricular activities, where, what, how, and be involved in those if you possibly can. That gives you favor with everyone when you'll take that extra step and do something for the school and for those kids. And that's also a way that you learn your students. A lot of your same students you have in class will be involved in extracurricular activities. You'll learn the parents, you'll learn the students, you'll build that relationship. And guys, nothing is stronger than the relationship. That's when kids want to work for you. That's when they want to learn, when they actually know that you care about them. Communications with parents and students. Know how to do this. What's expected? Are you supposed to do a school newsletter? Are you supposed to write in the school newsletter? Are you supposed to send something from your class? If you're a coach, what do you send home? How do you do that? know what's expected to you with that. And just ask your supervisor for these things. Lesson planning. School initiatives. What have we done in the past? What are we working on right now? Are we into visible learning with John Hattie's work? Do we do instructional rounds? Are those things that I need to know about? How can I be caught up quickly in those? Because you want to be caught up in the latest school initiatives because they're research-based and they're good. And if your school is just, if it's a Leader in Me school, how can I get caught up in Leader in Me where I can do the best I can with my kids and know those 7 habits and get those things, in with my kids? I mentioned PBIS. Those are all school initiatives that you're trying to do a better job with your school and with your students. So learn what you can as quick as you can and implement those in your classrooms. Again, the teachers around you, your peers, will help you more than you can imagine. Pick their brains. I've never had an original thought, I don't think, and just taken things from other people most of the time and use those. If it works, use it. Know your academic school initiatives. Your PLCs, when do they meet? How can you be a better part of those? Those should be about student work, about students themselves, and how to improve in that, and building relationships with your peers. And it should be vertical and horizontal and done many different ways in order to improve your school. Your professional learning communities, guys, are some of the strongest things for you to learn. Listen to those. And remember what I told you earlier, or last time, you are probably not the authority yet, and would probably do you good to listen for a while and to learn from those sage teachers who are just so smart and do so well with their classes, and use their ideas. And remember, don't get around those negative people. Stay away from them, and don't be a part of that. I told you those ducks are determined to undermine, criticize, and kill success. And I told you they're codependent. You don't want to be around them. They can't function by themselves because they have to have someone to complain to. So stay away from those people. Your goals and your daily expectations. Set goals for your classes. And of course, you'll have goals for your PGES for your classes, but have your own goals. Nothing like when a kid reaches a goal that you have for them. And your students will have goals and your daily expectations. What are you expecting today? Because I promise you, if you go in expecting bad things, you're going to find it. But expect good things, and expect your kids and your students and your staff to work with you and do the best that you can, because that's what you go into this for. Work with your resource teacher and supervisor to learn as much as possible about each of the categories that I talked about. These are all very, very important and will serve you well. This next section are some safety procedures and also harassment. I'm going to run through parts of these really quick, and because you should already know these. But fire, your in case of fire or during your fire drills, we practice like we play, guys. So I want you to take all of these drills very, very, very seriously, and be as thorough as you can in doing what you need to do to take care of your students, because you're responsible for your students in all these situations. Exits should be posted throughout the building. You evacuate the building, the nearest exit, or where it tells you to go in the area that you're in. Evacuate quickly and calmly. And I'm going to talk about calmly every time. You are the person in charge in that classroom. You're the calm person, because your kids will probably be going nuts and asking questions and doing all kinds of things. But they'll surprise you how calm they'll be if you're calm. So just stay calm and do what you should. Everyone be at least 300 feet away from the building. Don't enter the building until directed to do so. Keep your students safe. Take your grade book, other means of knowing exactly who you have with you. Important thing about this, always know who is with you. That's so important when you evacuate the building. The next one is earthquake. Look around the area for things that could fall on you, items that could topple over. Best protection is always away from the outside walls and windows. Remain calm, crouch under the desk, head tucked, hands on top or side of head. Stay inside until the shaking stops. Be aware that the electricity may go out, sprinklers may come on, fire alarms may go off. Hard to remain calm when the electricity goes out, the sprinklers come on, the fire alarms go off. But again, you are the teacher in the classroom, and you will do so. Tornado, remain calm. Move students to designated safe area, and those are probably marked for you, and you probably know what those are. Make sure you know what those are. Assume the duck and cover position, stay inside the area until the warning is lifted. Most schools will go into a safe area if a warning is given in that area. Next one is one that we drill on, unwanted intruder. You should know what the unwanted intruder plan is and the lockdown procedures for your schools. But question anyone that comes down that hallway that you don't know and harass them. I don't care. If it makes them mad, it just makes them mad. If they don't have a visitor's tag on, if I'm in your building and you know it's me, ask me why I don't have a visitor's tag on. Excuse me. I'm the safety director for Greg, and I go around the schools. And today I was in a school doing some walkthroughs, but I also did a safety walkthrough while I was there. I walked around the school without a tag on to see if anybody questioned me. Then I checked storage room doors. I checked under the bleachers. I checked to see if I could get places. I checked the outside doors to make sure they were locked. I made sure that they asked me to sign in when I walked in the front door. I looked at all those things, and those are the things that I check on. I check when I go outside to see if is the shrubbery cut to where people can't be hiding around in the shrubbery. If I was there at night, I'd make sure the lights. If you're a person that works after dark, and now it's getting darker earlier, and the lights outside are not coming on when the timer's messed up because the time's changed, make sure and mention that to your supervisor. That needs to be fixed. It needs to be well lit. That controls a lot. Be alert to the situation at hand. I can't tell you how much situational awareness means, guys. Just be alert to the situation at hand. Always question anybody. If someone looks suspicious, they probably are. Just if someone looks like they don't belong, they probably don't. Be alert to the situation. Question everyone. And it's never someone else's responsibility when your live's at stake. You pay attention wherever you are. I use this everywhere I go that I possibly can. And I probably drive my wife Lisa crazy with it because in the airports, in ball games, in malls, and we were at a Titans game not long ago, and I was watching this guy because I just didn't think he looked right. Didn't think he looked like he needed to be there. And when I say right, he just looked out of place. Everybody there has something on rooting for a team, and he just looked out of place. But now that we see shootings in places that any shooting's wrong, but we see them in theaters and places of work. I mean, we have to be watching for things. So do that. Next policy deals with harassment. And I'm going to read this to you. Harassment deals with employees with other employees. Harassment is an unlawful behavior based on race, color, national, or ethnic origin, sex, genetic information, religion, political affiliation, age, disability of employee, which involves intimidation through threats of or actual physical violence or the use of language, conduct, or symbols in a manner as to commonly understood to convey hatred or prejudice. Sexual harassment of an employee or district employee is defined as any unwanted, personally offensive sexual attention, requests for sexual favors, when other illegal conduct of sexual nature, when submission to such conduct is either made explicitly or implicitly as a term of condition of an individual's employment status. Basis for employment, it has the purpose of effect of unreasonable interfering with an individual's work performance and creates an intimidating, hostile, or offensive work environment. It is prohibited at all times. Harassment, sexual harassment, prohibited at all times. That's bullying behavior from that. That's a lot of things go along with that. Employees who engage in this behavior are subject to disciplinary action. I misspelled that as well. I'm sorry. Including but not limited to termination. You can be terminated for this. Procedures will be in personnel manuals explaining how harassment should be addressed. Examples of conduct or actions that could be considered violations of this policy include but not limited to name calling, stories, jokes, pictures, objects that are offensive to one's gender, race, color, national origin, marital status, religion, or disability, unwanted touching, sexual name calling, sexual jokes, sexual rumors, outbursts of profanity. Employees are being subject to sexual remarks by another employee in the context of the workplace, irregardless of gender. Impeding or limiting opportunities of employee based on gender. None of this is right. All of this is wrong. And these are things that you take very seriously and people take very seriously. Other things that I will go over real quick are hot topics before I go any farther. Hot topics are things going on right now that we're dealing with in schools. And if you haven't dealt with them or your district hadn't dealt with them, they will soon. First one is transgender students. Uh, Transgender students is the no matter if you've dealt with that or not, you will soon if you are a school district. The stats on that are I got this at a law conference the other day, and I'll read it out of it. It says 78% of students who express transgender identity or gender nonconformity issues during the school reported harassment. 78%. 31% of these persons reported harassment was perpetrated by teachers or staff. 35% reported being physically assaulted, and 12% reported sexual violence. 15% of transgender students have left school due to severe harassment. More than half those students who were harassed, assaulted, and expelled reported attempted suicide. That's something that you will deal with in time if you've not. Next one is e-cigarettes. E-cigarettes are everywhere, and I don't know if you had them in your district. I'm sure you have. You need a policy regarding e-cigarettes because some parents think that they can get around the policy with their kids even by saying that they're e-cigarette. I think someone has their mic on. You might want to mute your mic if you've not. But the e-cigs, and you know what those are, and they're battery operated devices, and they're supposed to give nicotine in the form of vapor, and they're paired with flavorings. But the thing is, you can order different things right off the internet to get people to. Hold on, just 1 second. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, there's nothing.
Oh, you're fine. Okay. But the e-cigs, you can buy things right off the internet that's very harmful, and students can get some sort of synthetic marijuana, and it is some kids have actually died from that we've heard about, and it's just not a good thing. You need a policy about this if you don't have it, and you need to prevent those. Prohibit the use of e-cigs at all. Revise the student code of conduct to prohibit those, and your schools are working on that. You know, freedom of speech and freedom of religion is always big. Just a reminder. Public school officials are required to remain neutral on issues of religion when carrying out their duties. We're to remain neutral. Students can express their faith during the school day as long as that expression does not infringe on the rights of other students and doesn't disrupt the school. Okay? Your prayer in schools. The only time prayer is permissible is when the student initiated and student led. Student district officials should not influence, monitor, or edit the content of a prayer in school. And that comes pretty much right out of the law. Equal access, it's open and forum whenever grants offering access to one or more, then you offer the same. Some schools allow some churches to excuse me, I'm so sorry, my allergies are, I was working in leaves yesterday and it's messed me up. But will offer churches places to meet while they're getting buildings fixed. If you open it up to a church, then you're going to open it up to any other form of worship or any other meeting of worship, such as not just a Christian church, but any other kind of church. And if you open up to one club, you open up to all clubs. You can't discriminate on the use of schools once you open that up. It has to be equal access to all. If you offer to one, you offer to all. The distribution of religious material, the Gideons, that's a very hard thing, and that's a thing that was in the law conference I went to, and they talked about how you can do that. The Ten Commandments is one of the things that's always talked about. Even the Pledge of Allegiance, and I know you know this, but schools cannot require students to recite the pledge. You do recite the pledge, but if a student doesn't participate, you can't require that. And whether you like it or not, that's pretty much the case of that. Even the Confederate flag, can students display the Confederate flag on their clothing or vehicle? Some boards have policies against that because there's been a history of racial conflict. To permit the flag to be displayed, it would be where the operations in the school, you'd have to, if there's been a time of violence or racial tension, that would be the time that they outlawed those things, and those couldn't be worn. And there's lawsuits all the time on those in different areas. One of the things I thought was interesting is FERPA and the emails. Are school emails containing personally identifiable information about students subject to FERPA? And the answer was it depends. You need to, it says that California federal court held that emails were not FERPA records, but because the school district involved could delete the emails, and emails were maintained on multiple places. But an Ohio court, on the other hand, determined that emails were subject to FERPA because the university emails could not be deleted and because the emails were maintained into secure files. Be careful on your emails, guys. Do not email anything that you don't want on a billboard. And that's always we've all been guilty of emailing something we shouldn't email. But just be careful on emails, please, because that can and will get you in trouble. Let me see if there's anything else in that. That is the hot topics that I wanted to mention. The next slide that I have let me see here, where did it go? Name calling, stories, jokes, pictures, objects that are offensive to one's gender, race, or color, national origin, marital status, and so forth. Unwanted touching, sexual name calling, rumors, outbursts of profanity. I know I read those to you. Make sure and just know that this is a partial list of the many things that you're going to need to learn. This harassment thing is just one of many of the policies that you'll know in time. There is a grievance procedure that you can that is in your policy handbook. There's everything in your policy handbook to take care of those things that we've read about. Most everything that I've talked to you about. But these are the big ones that I've explained to you and gone over with you, in my opinion. And there are so many more things that you're learning. And I know you're learning this as you go. And you're going to gain this experience in your profession. I know you feel overwhelmed in a lot of these areas. A lot of these things you don't have to know right now, but they'll come to you over time. And honestly, if I hadn't been a principal and a district assessment coordinator, assistant superintendent, and a superintendent, I don't know that I would know a whole lot of these things. But I guess I'm trying to give you a background of why things happen as they do. You know, it's not just the superintendent makes those policies. It's not just the Board of Education. They line up with the state laws, and those state laws are governed by the legislative branches and the State Board of Education. And I guess I just want you to know that. My next slide is probably the one you're looking for. Questions, concerns. I usually put snide remarks. You're in the greatest and the best profession. I do believe that. Use common sense and good judgment. Be an advocate for yourself, for your students, for your district, for your profession. Join those things. Be members. Be a part. In order to have job security, I heard this from a gentleman one time, and I may have shared it with you last time, but respect those who are your peers. Serve those you work for, serve those who work for you and of whom you supervise. And honor those that you work for yourself. You will always have job security when you respect your peers. You serve those that work for you, and you honor those you work for, because that will grant you favor. Okay? If you have any questions, feel free to type them. And if you don't, that pretty much concludes my session. And I think this is the end of my 2 sessions. I hope I hadn't bored you to death, guys. And there's so many things I want to share with new teachers. But you're in a great profession, and if I can ever be of help to you in any way, feel free to email me here at GREC, I'm on the global, and it's Tim Murley, and feel free to do that, and I'll help you in any way I possibly can. I have a lot of resources at my fingertips, and just feel free. Okay, hope you have a great afternoon, and appreciate you guys. Bye bye.